So this is Joan Walsh Anglund and our honored guest. And I'm going to have Jenny Scotchfield come up here. She's been a friend of mine for a long time, one of my tennis friends, and also a sorority sister.
I am quite honored to be here today. Mary Diane was worried that I might not know who Joan Walsh Anglund was because
she's so young.
Not that young, but I did. But on behalf of the city of Lexington, we would like to announce today as Joan Walsh Anglund Day. And so, I will go ahead and read what the proclamation says. I, Jim Gray, I'm here on behalf of our Mayor of Lexington, in recognition of her more than 50 years of writing and illustrating wonderful children's and inspirational books, do hereby proclaim September 20th, 2014, Joan Walsh Anglund Day.
I had asked people to send in questions, and she has had a lot of stories that she's told me, and we wanted to do some of those as well.
Yes.
So I'm going to start with some of the questions, and then I'll have you intersperse with some stories.
Okay.
Can you all hear me okay?
And can you hear me? Yes. I'm wired. Okay. I've never been wired before.
It's all that caffeine we fed her for breakfast. So my sister said you couldn't hear me as well. Is it okay now? Okay. All right. So Joan, is there a book of your own that you would consider your personal favorite? And if so, why?
Well, of course, it has to be a friend. And because it was the beginning, and because it changed our lives, and when we were at a very low point in our life, we received such a positive response, and it just gave me a voice and helped my daughter and everything. So yes, that was it.
And she was in a low point because they moved from Illinois to New York, and they left all their friends and family in Illinois. So she was trying to decide who could be a friend.
Yes, and also because we felt displaced, the only place we felt really at home for a while was in the public library. And so each day I would wheel the children up to the library, and that became our haven. And because there were all these books, and we felt at home there, and then we'd walk back, later. And we came out of a very hard period for us, our whole family, yeah.
Have you had a favorite author from any genre that you have enjoyed over your lifetime?
Well, of course, I love poetry, and of course Emily Dickinson is my favorite poet, and but then I like the writings of Thoreau and Emerson, and I love in the children's book field. I always was influenced a little by the Kate Greenaway books, and then of course I love Garth Williams, and Dick Scarry was my friend, and the drawings of Eric Blegvad, and Charlotte Solito, who had an understanding heart, and Margaret Wise Brown. And so those, yes.
Excellent. Okay, how did your art become collectible items? How did your art turn into the collectible items that ensued?
Do you mean the determined group of things of, well,
Connie.
one day, Joy and her friend Lisa were playing, and we received a knock on the door, and we received this big package. And so we immediately sat down and opened this box, and inside was a huge coloring book about that size, and it was Alice in Wonderland. and then there was a life-size doll about this high, and it had joints in it, a paper doll, thick cardboard doll, and the name on it was Lisa. And so they were intrigued because this was a Lisa doll, and Lisa was right there. So we said, you know, and inside the thing was a quick note from Connie Boucher, and she said, I would like to talk to you sometime. Please call me at this number. And so I did call her to thank her, and she said, can you come in and see me? I'm in New York right now, and you could come and see me. So we went, I did, and I remember going in and thinking, you know, what is this all about? And so the second I saw Connie, we just, you know, we just knew each other right away, and she had a wonderful sense of humor. But anyway, she was Determined Products. The way it happened, her husband was in banking and very staid and everything, and she was very creative and believed that anything was possible, and which I do too. And so she said, her husband said, she said, I think I'm going to do this thing, like do the, and she wanted to do Winnie the Pooh, which she also did too. So he said, well, you can't do it. And she said, yes, I can. And he said, well, what are you going to use for money? And she said, I'm going to use the Christmas Club money that you made me put all my money in and save. and so now I'm going to take the money you had me save, and I'm going to spend it on what I want to do. And that's exactly what she did. And she went and talked to, I think it was Shepard, I don't think it was Mel, about doing the Winnie the Poohs. And she started, and she was determined. And she did whatever she thought was right. She did it in 5 minutes, moved forward, got it going, and it was in production within days. And so when we met, we were kindred spirits, and we would be sitting, and well, okay, one time we were in a swimming pool in Las Brisas on a kind of vacation, and we were talking about something, and flowers were floating in the water and everything, and we said, I said, well, you know, we're talking about this date and that. We really need some sort of a calendar. Do you have a calendar around here? And she said, you know what? That's what we're going to do next. We're going to do date books. And if you were doing a date book, Joan, how would it be? And I said, well, what size should it be? And I said, well, it should fit. It should, you know, be the size that we'd be able to carry, and this and that. And then it should have a drawing on each page to represent the month. And then the drawing should be in an oval, so it's kind of important. And I think on the little things, we could just put tiny little pictures that would interest people. So then the next day, she brought me a mock-up, and a couple of days after that, we had a date book. So that is how everything went. And then, of course, she wanted to know if you were doing a doll of your figures, how should they be? And then and over dinner, we would get an idea, oh, they should be this, they should be that. They have to have real hair, not just hair that the child can ever take off. It has to be really connected. It has to be good dresses. What should the dresses be? What size of the legs? Whatever, everything. And so we worked together just like that. We had such fun. And of course, Emily was there, and she was, I'm not quite sure, maybe 5. And then Adam, her grandson, so we had prototypes of, and people we could try these things out on. And so that's how it went. And that's how all those things happened that you people have loved and that you have in your Joan Walsh Anglund. she was the person that contacted each person that produced them, all the teeny figurines, then all the Beswick figures and the various people. We went to England together and saw the Beswick factory, and they had never done anything like ours before, but they did. Of course, Connie talked them into it, and it was, it was just fun. And we did things in different countries. In one country, because of the lace and everything, nuns were that created lace and everything were doing the dolls. And of course, it was helping the nunnery because they needed the financing. So it was, good for everyone. Yeah, but all the little dresses had the details, the lace, the proper buttons, everything that had to be perfect. And so that's what's in your Joan Walsh Anglund book. All of those things are due to Connie Boucher. And she was my very, very dear friend. And of course, then our families got to be friends. And Teddy Boucher and Douglas, her sons, knew Joy, and they were good friends. And so it just went like that.
And she had just mentioned Adam.
Yes.
And the Emily and Adam book, the prototype is displayed on the second floor here. And then my Emily and Adam books are spread out there so you can see how it turned out in the end.
Yeah.
But a lot of people think that Adam and Emily are brother and sister, but Thaddeus and Emily are brother and sister, and Adam was Connie's son.
So my granddaughter and her grandson were very dear friends. And of course, that was interesting because we'd be talking or we'd be going places and they'd be in the hotel room or in the office, and they didn't want to be in our conversation. So on their level, they were having fun in the office and getting office paper and using typewriters and doing all kinds of things. And so they had a really good friendship. And then Joy had a very good friendship with Teddy Boucher, who was not the grandson, but the son. And so then that's how it went.
Mm-hmm. What is a typical day like? Tell me what your typical day is like in your life today.
Today?
Not this
okay,
day,
well,
but
it's a little different.
when you're in Connecticut or New York.
It's a little different than it used to be because I used to, when I was busy doing all that, I had a very kind of not a strict schedule, but a business-like schedule when my children were growing up, and I always did. I would do all the things with the children, going to school, driving them, picking them up, talking about things and like that. But after dinner, I'd fall asleep for 20 minutes, and instead of watching shows or something, I would go up to my studio and start to draw. And then they'd come up before they went to bed or something. It wasn't, strict. It was just kind of loose. And I would work until about 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I'd get up and drive them to school and all of that, be the mother, do all the, take them out and pick up their friends and all of that. So that was the schedule.
Okay, but your schedule now?
And my schedule now is I'm constantly writing new things every morning, and I have a quiet time of prayer and meditation every morning as I wake up, and then I'm sometimes in the middle of the night I wake up and I write something in the dark, and I have that about 4 o'clock in the morning. I seem to wake up and have something to say, and so that's interesting. And then if I'm with at Emily's house, then the children wake up and I help take care of them and get them ready for their play school and things like that. If I'm not there, I'm at home doing my in my own studio that I have. It's now kind of it's not as studio-ish as it is a place where I read poetry and and can remember, things that I want to write and plan and everything. But so I'm in two different places, I guess. I'm part of the time up in a little farther up, but now that Emily is in Connecticut with her new job, we'll be closer. Joy and I will be able to get down and see the girls a little more.
Mm-hmm. And when she refers to the girls, those are twins, Rosie and Peach.
Rose and Peach. Actually, there's Samantha Rose and Elizabeth Peach, but Rosie said somebody tried to call her Samantha, and she said, "I am not Samantha. I am Rose, R-O-S-E." And little Peach is Peach because Bob's grandfather was actually named Peach because the mother said, "He's a peach," and she named him Peach Daniel, and he had to live with that name for the rest of his life. And so he was Grandpa Peachy. And and then Emily, the other day, Joy and Seth went to a peach grove, and they picked some real peaches, and they deliberately picked one that still had the leaf on it, so that they could tell that had been picked and wasn't just in the store. And so she, just as we were going in, being driven in by Emily, she said, "Oh, I just wanted you to see this." And Rose looked at it, and she looked at it, and the color, and felt it. And then she looked at the leaf, and that was fine. Then it was handed over to Peach. And Peach, "Oh," she said, "oh," and just smiled. And then she looked at it, and she took a great big bite. And that's so much like her, because she's rather frail looking, but she eats like a truck driver. She just eats all the time, and Rosie doesn't.
So some people have asked about your favorites, so I'm going to just say them, and you tell me real fast what your favorites, unless you want people to guess what your favorite food might be.
My favorite?
I'm going to ask you some of your favorite things.
Oh, okay.
And so I was going to have you, like
Try to
kind of
do
quick
it.
recall, but does anybody want to guess what her favorite food is?
Bread.
What?
Nope. Bread?
Oh, my color?
Your favorite food?
Oh, my favorite food, ice cream.
No, that's not what you told me.
Yes, well, but my basic food is mashed potatoes. I mean, if you want to make me happy, just give me mashed potatoes. And strangely enough, I think I've affected Peachy, because she loves mashed potatoes. And so she did a little thing that said, in the morning she came in to see me, and she said, "Nana, I have something for you. What would you like to eat?" And I said, "I would like mashed potatoes." And she said, "Oh, yummy. 1 mashed potatoes coming up," she said. But ice cream is my delight.
Okay.
Yes, just simple.
So, favorite color?
Favorite color, I think, is blue.
Okay. Favorite things to do?
Favorite things to do. My very, very favorite things to do are to be outside and I love being near the sea and on a beach with the kids. Being outside, I guess. And I love reading poetry.
Favorite place to be?
Near the sea.
Okay, and your favorite character, and I don't know if that means television or like Snoopy or an Emily doll or what, but favorite characters in general.
My favorite characters? Oh, I think that is.
Okay,
He's a real
like
character.
we're not going to tell Emily that, okay? There is one person here, and I will have her stand up. Her name is Addie Griffin. Addie wants to know, are you willing to be interviewed by her granddaughter, who is an anchor for the news in Boston, Massachusetts?
Oh, yes, I am. I love Boston, Massachusetts.
And
yeah.
her granddaughter's name is Sarah, and she was Miss Miss Missouri. And just for your, so you know, and you know, the writing on her note in here is called Dear Sarah. That's the font.
Oh, good.
Just a little
That's
touch.
that'll be
Dear
fun.
Sarah.
Yes, because I love Boston, and we might have to go up there, and that would be great.
What can we look forward to you sharing in the future? Do you have any new plans that might be
Well,
public?
there's a possibility that I never like to talk about what might be, but there is a possibility that we'll be doing some, in Japan, we'll be doing some reprinted books of some of my favorite things, which I would like to do very much. And then I don't really always like, but I have a new little character that I have created, and I'm eager to see her come to life. And it's the cowgirl. And yeah, and so I just think it would be nice to have the cowgirl join the cowboy and the and bear. And so she looks darling, and I'd like to have her come to life.
That would be cool. How did you come up with your style with no nose or mouth, precious little cheeks, and the shading in and out of pastels, etc.? That sounds like a Mimi Moore question to me. But
Well, actually, it was gradual. As you know, in Friend and some of the earlier, they have little faces. But I began to draw my children, and they moved too fast. And I'd kind of catch them. So then I began to kind of style this. And it wasn't exactly a plan, but it was just that I saw the face of the whole child. But often when you see children, they're looking at you with two big eyes, but they have expression. But this just it just made me I didn't do it deliberately. In the books, you can see it gradually happening a little more, and they became a little more stylized, possibly when the children were getting older and I was drawing memories of them. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. It just was a gradual thing. And I delighted in their simplicity and the clothes they were wearing and things. And they just became a little more simplified. Wasn't planned.
okay. You answered this for some people this morning, but there are others out there. Did you ever draw little pictures as a child?
Yes, yes. Well, and I don't. Maybe you've heard me say this before, but in our family, my father was an artist and my mother was an artist, and I always saw that whenever they did anything, they always wrote something, but they always did a picture with it. And especially my father would sit at the kitchen table with a porcelain top table, and I'd be watching in the morning, and he'd be making plans because he was doing advertising and thinking of new ideas, and did Dr. West toothpaste and Ford Motor Company, and he did billboards and things like that, and did whole ad campaigns. So I saw him creating those, and then he would always do the sketch of how the sketch would be, how visual would be, and then how the idea would be. What was the idea of the simplified words that people could see quickly. And so that is definitely, I didn't know I was being influenced, but that was definitely what I saw all the time. So, and then I'd go upstairs and sit in the attic and try to do the same thing on the edge of all the books we had up there. And I'd see something, and then I'd try to draw something, and then I'd always erase it so nobody would know that I had actually drawn on a book, because I knew that was taboo. So.
Is there a piece of advice that you have learned through the years? A good piece of advice that you have learned or leaned on or utilized in your life over the years?
Well, I think it is to be grateful for every single day that you have, and know that this is a gift that you have, this gift of life, and you have to give something back for all that you've been given. And so that's how I begin my day, praying, and it sets my tone, and I am truly, truly grateful for every day that I've lived and all the joy that I've had. And I think, so that would be my advice. Also, let angers go, because anything that happened is in the past now. So how long are you going to let an angry thought or an unforgiving thought? And it's not easy sometimes to forgive. It's not easy because people have hurt you in some way, but you have to let it go, because as long as you hold a negative thought, you are caught by that. You're being owned by that thought. But if you let it go and you forgive, you're free. You're cleansed. You're cleansed of the past, and the day is all yours. So
I should forgive Lau for breaking my dishes?
What?
I should forgive Lau for breaking dishes over
Definitely, we have to forgive him.
Even the Frenchman and the bean pot?
And remember the woman whose child we heard got a hold of her Anglund dolls and put...
Kim Patton.
Yes, put the marker and put the two eyes, and that's happened to a lot of people. One little boy, I was in line, and I was drawing my thing for him and everything, and he looked, and he looked at me, he said, "Do you know that these are my eyes, and this is my nose, and this is my mouth?" He said.
Is there something that we would be surprised to know about you?
Yes, if you don't already know it. It's that I happen to be a wrestling aficionado, and I go to wrestling matches with my grandson, and I have been going to wrestling matches with my grandson since he was a little boy. And I have been hugged by Bret Hart. I have been hugged again by The Undertaker, and all of them. And who was the big guy, the wrestler
Hulk.
guy?
Hogan?
That you went into the... Yeah. Oh, and then, of course, the Ultimate Warrior. We went up, he wasn't a little boy, we went up about a year ago and met him, and I had my picture taken with him, hugging me, and I was in seventh heaven. We got his autograph. It was wonderful. And I was with Thaddeus. We had dinner together, and that was a big moment for us. Yeah, so that you might not know, but...
That surprised me.
Yeah. That got me into a lot of trouble, always.
Other than faith, family, and friends, what 3 things would you not want to live without?
Faith, family, and friends.
So, can't
Well,
count that.
I wouldn't want to live without without the beauty of nature, being free to see that every day and go out and see the stars at night. Well, I guess probably health. That would be one. I guess in time, the gift of time, free time to think and to create what I like to create. That, yeah, yes.
Very good. Not chocolate, not lobster.
Oh, yes. Oh, well, that's a different question. Oh, that's a different question. Chocolate, I draw the line. That's definitely, I have to have that.
What is your favorite vacation spot?
Near the sea, being near the sea and watching the waves and the tides and the whole atmosphere, yes.
And are you currently reading something, a novel or a...
Am I
Are you currently reading a certain book?
Well, I kind of read, as I said, I read philosophers, and I kind of browse a little. I'm not reading a book, like a novel or something. I guess I really don't read novels that much. I really read poetry and philosophy and that kind of thing more. I like them, but somehow I don't, I don't have time for it, I guess.
Right.
Especially now with the twins and everything.
You're reading little books.
Yeah, I'm reading shorter things.
Where do you like to shop?
I don't.
You don't shop. You don't like to shop. And you
No.
don't shop. Okay.
I hardly ever shop if I don't have to. Sometimes I have to for shoes or something, but I don't like to shop.
If you could not be an artist, what would you like to be?
I think I would like to do something with early childhood. I'd like to be I think I'd really be happy working either a daycare person or a teacher of preschool teacher. I'd really enjoy that.
What is a treat or a luxury you do for yourself?
What's what?
What is a treat or a luxury you do for yourself?
What's a treat?
What kind of treat or luxury do you do for yourself?
Eat ice cream.
We have ice cream at our house. We can do that. Do you have a favorite drawing or theme?
A favorite season?
A favorite drawing, I guess, that you have done, or a favorite theme that you like to draw?
Well,
Children.
I guess it would be, again, children, and the things that I drew, a lot of the things I drew earlier were fun, little cards for people and things that was about them, and, and then had a little letter with it or something for friends. I like to do that.
Right.
Yes.
How has your drawing style changed from the early days until now?
Well, as I said, I think it's become more simplified and certainly probably more stylized, but it's I think that's it. More simplified, and
I think your
Yeah.
children were more
Long-
elongated and they became more rounded.
round, and they were actually more based on Joy and Emily and Thad, but then they became more. They evolved, and I didn't do it consciously. It just was what I was doing.
So I asked you if it was okay to ask you about some stories. You've told me to share some stories.
Okay.
And one of them was, I think we didn't talk about this yesterday, but you'll know the story, when you and Patsy were going to make fudge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, okay. Well, what happened? Patsy sometimes wasn't well and couldn't, she had different little things and so she didn't like to go out, and she had a little bit of asthma and little things, and so she didn't like to go out so much. So I kind of was Little Joey. They called me Little Joey, and they'd send me to the store to get this or that, or over to get the milk, or over to do this or that. And that was what I liked doing, because I liked to go out. So anyway, we did inventive things. Like one time, well, I won't go off on that one. Okay, I'll stay on this one. We decided that we were going to make some fudge, and we were going to sell it at the carnival. And so we did, and we made a batch, and that turned out to be just syrupy. It never turned into fudge. So then we made the next batch, and that burned. So Patsy said, well, that we'll call Whorehound, and because that has a funny taste. And she said, we kept going, and we finally got a good batch of fudge that was just right. So then she said, well, now you have to go and take this to the carnival and sell it, because we've spent the money on the, and that was the depression. I mean, it was very, 1930-ish. It was depression, so we watched every penny. So she said, okay, I'll tell you what, and she made me a Dutch hat out of some, and she made me, took a big skirt and rolled it up, the full skirt, and a big white apron, and we had some wooden shoes that somebody had sent back from Holland for us, and I could just fit into them. So she said, so I was expected that. She got me all dressed up, and she said, okay, now go and sell the fudge. Yeah, and I said, okay, yes, Patsy, because whatever Patsy said, I always said yes, because I even said, when I went to order ice cream, I'd say, what kind of ice cream do I want, Patsy? Because I never thought for myself, whatever Patsy said, that's what I did. And she was the best sister in the whole world. And she taught me everything, and she was wonderful. So she said I was to go over there and sell those things. That's what I did. So I walked out of the door, and I went right over to the carnival, and I just walked over and talked to people and said, don't you want some nice good fudge, or do you want some syrup? Or would you like some Whorehound? You can have anything you want. And I had a little bag of each. And so, and of course, I must have been, they all took pity on me, all the people, and I sold every single thing. And I came back to Patsy, and I said, Patsy, look at what I did. And of course, we were so happy, so that was what my relationship with her.
Her mother was an artist also,
Yes,
and
yes.
creative, and apparently sewed. And there are two incidences she's told me about her mother.
Yes.
One time she went to Catholic school, and you were supposed to wear uniforms at school. And her mother decided she would make a uniform for her one day.
Yes.
So tell what
Well,
happened.
my mother was a little bit, she was an artist, and she saw things in her own unique way, and she was a bit of a rebel. And she didn't think the uniforms, which are long and draggy, and you had down to here and straight lines, and she didn't think that was right. So she made my uniform out of, it came like this, and it had a full twirly skirt, and it had ruffles around here, and it had little silver flecks in the material, so that when I twirled, everything rippled, and of course the Sister Superior came down the aisle, and she said, Joan Walsh, what are you doing? And I said, good morning, sister. And I was, she said, where is your uniform? I said, well, this is my new uniform. And she took my uniform, and she said, you can't wear this uniform. You have to wear the other uniform. So anyway, my mother, then when I made First Holy Communion, she did the same thing, and we were late for there because she was just sewing sewing the dress as we were supposed to be there. And so then we And so I had the Holy Communion dress, which was supposed to have long sleeves and a veil and whatever, turned out to be just little ruffles here and little kind of like a tulle skirt. And again, when I arrived at the church and it was almost time and everybody was marching in and I was the last one to be going, and she looked at me and she said, and she tried to cover, she brought the veil around and tried to cover this, but off I went, and so anyway.
Now, one part of that first story that she told me was she knew when she was going to school that she was not supposed to be wearing that to school, but she didn't want to get in trouble or do what her mom, go against what her mom's wishes were. So she was worried she'd get in trouble with her mom if she said no, but she knew when she got to school she would get in trouble.
Yeah.
And usually she didn't get in trouble.
Yeah.
However.
No, because I was really a very good little girl. I mean, I didn't get in trouble except once. And that was I did the wrong thing, no doubt about it. But anyway.
But she didn't know it.
I didn't know it. I thought I was doing the right thing. And so my mother and her sisters somehow were very, very busy. And they always talked a lot together whenever they got together and were doing something. And I don't know what it was about, because I just remember they said to me, Joey, take your little cousin Jimmy out and take him for a walk, and we need you just take care of him. And they did in the 30s. They did that with children. They didn't. You didn't have lessons and things. You just took care of your younger children, and you played. And so I thought, all right. So I put him in the stroller, and away we went. And I walked down the street and passed, and I kept walking in a certain direction, and I gradually got to the edge of what I knew and what our town was. And I walked over into the next town. And about that time, my stomach was growling, and I saw a woman. I said, hello, how are you? And she said, oh, and she was so nice, and she looked at the baby, and then he started crying. And she said, would he like a little bit of milk or something? Have you had anything to eat? And I said, no, I haven't. So she gave me cookies and milk, and she fed the baby, and the baby went back to sleep. And so I said goodbye, and instead of turning around, I went forward. And I walked and walked and walked, and then I came to a nice couple that were digging in their garden, and they gave me some flowers, and they gave me some cookies, and they gave me something else to eat, and I said goodbye, and I walked on. And so then I noticed that the light was changing, and I thought, oh, I better turn around and go home. So I turned around and I started walking, but of course it was getting to be near sunset, and by this time my cousin was beginning to cry again, and I had to get milk from somebody. But I suddenly knew it was too late. I should be getting home. So I walked and walked and walked and walked as fast as I could, and I came to where my neighborhood more. And the first thing I heard was, Joan, are you going to be in trouble? Joan, your father came all the way out from Chicago to look for you. Oh, are you in trouble? The police are looking for you. And I was beginning to really perspire and be so scared, because I'd never been in trouble before. I mean, I didn't even know how to handle it. I got home, and there indeed was my father, Tom Walsh, and he and my mother, and of course they were so happy to see me that they hugged me right away. But then my father said, Joan, this is awful what you did. You shouldn't have done it. And he gave me my first spanking. And I remember thinking, wow, I really did it this time. And so, of course, I never did anything like that again because and if I'd asked Patsy, of course, I never would have done it if she'd been around. But she wasn't there.
So I have one more story I want to ask her about, and then she can talk about other things if she'd like, but I don't want to take up all of your time.
Yeah.
So one day, and I was thinking it was Christmas Day, but maybe not, you went off to kind of go sledding on your own?
Oh, when I was little.
When you were little?
Yes.
And you ended up
that one
meeting
was
that little
when, yes. I must have been maybe 5, about that age. And we lived on one street, and then there were nice houses across. And then between the houses, sometimes there was a little pathway that you could take over to where there was a small lake. It wasn't big, but it was, just a nice little lake. And it was used by everybody to go sledding down the hills, and it was used for skating. And so I went over there, and I wasn't skating, but I just loved being over there. So I left the house again, and I went over through this thing, and I stayed at the thing, playing and skating and sliding down the thing. And so it started to get a little late, and this one girl named Diddy Wilbur was very kind, and she said, "Why don't you just come home with me and we'll have a bite to eat?" And of course I loved that. And I said, "Okay, I'll go with you." And I think I had my own sled that I was dragging, but I'm not sure, or whether I was borrowing hers. But anyway, off we went, and we walked. Then we walked farther than I thought it was going to be. I hadn't questioned it. I just followed her, and then we walked a little farther. And by that time, I was pretty far away from home. So we got in, and there was the house, and that was Jimmy and Jackie Wilbur were 2 twin boys, and then Diddy was the older sister. Their father was very jovial and jolly, about like Santa Claus or something, and he twinkled in his eye, and he was kind of teasing me. And so they sat me on in my little snow pants I had, and they put me on a kitchen stool. It was green, and it was kind of tin, made out of tin, and they put me, it was the register of hot air coming up from, and at first it felt really good because I was really cold and my feet were cold and everything. But then all of a sudden I began to get hot, and I began to perspire and wilt. And I said, "Mr. Wilbur," "Mr. Wilbur, it's awfully hot in here." And then the whole family laughed at me because they had deliberately set me there so I would, So then Jimmy and Jackie, from that, became our very dear friends. They came over to our house, and they would always come over, and, they were sort of naughty and wild, but they were our friends. So we played, and we did dress up, and we had wagons, and we went on the plains with them. And we had, played all kinds of stuff. So what happened was that as they grew up, they became our boyfriends. And Patsy married Jimmy, who was the wild one, and I fell in love with Jackie, who was a little more heroic and always doing kind of the right thing, kind of noble. But now before then, one of the things that Jimmy did was he would go and get in trouble in one class, and then the next day he'd say, "Oh, let's switch classes," because they were identical. And so Jackie would innocently go to school, and then he'd get detention. And so, but one of the things that Jimmy did, I remember, was he had his pet was a little white mouse. And he'd put him and deliberately take him to school. And so the little mouse would come up and crawl out of his collar and look around, and everybody would giggle, but the teacher wouldn't see it. He'd stuff it back down, and sometimes it would crawl out of his sleeve, and sometimes it would escape, and then he'd have to catch it, all without the teacher seeing it. So that's how, in A Friend is Someone Who Likes You, that it's a boy, it can be a boy or a girl, or a cat, or a dog, or even a white mouse. And that's where I got the white mouse, for A Friend is Someone Who Likes You. So.
Well, we really appreciate your being here.
Yeah.
I think everybody's enjoyed it. I hope the other people have.
Thank you, thank you.
I would like to read something because for those of you that don't know this, I had the Friends of Joan submit their pictures or their essay or their thoughts about Joan and how they were influenced by Joan or loved her work. And I would like to start by reading what Mary wrote. Because my best friend goes, "Oh my gosh, she credits everything to Joan."
I do.
It's kind of neat. So she did what I did, only she ran with it. When I was about 10 years old, my mother gave me a copy of A Friend is Someone Who Likes You, along with the Emily doll. I was in love. I studied the pictures over and over and tried to copy them, and I studied the beautiful photo of Joan in the back of the book. I was thrilled to know that she actually made a living this way. I decided there and then I was going to do this when I grew up too. Just like Joan Walsh Anglund, I saved my allowance and bought each book as it came out because I couldn't get enough of her charming, graceful drawings. I still can't. Through my magazine, I got to meet Joan just on the phone at first as we interviewed her for a story, but then in person later. My editor and friend Barbara Martin says she thinks I started the magazine just so I could meet Joan. She is as lovely in person as you would think, and has been an amazing mentor to me and friend to me. I love her, and I'm so glad she is being honored here today.
Oh,
So this is-
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sweet Lord, thank you.
So that's true. I did. I got the book and I copied all the drawings and thought, oh my gosh, you can make a living doing this? No one told me this. So from the age of 10, since I saw that book, I was laser focused on doing this for a living. So you really were a huge influence,
You sweet angel.
as you can see by my
Yeah,
drawings.
Oh.
So, although Joan's drawings are so simple and so elegant, and you say so much with just, so few words, and also so few lines. Sometimes I feel like I just get carried away and I draw and draw and draw, and I don't know when to stop. And you just have it down
You
perfectly.
angel. Thank you.
And I
thank you.
still, to this day, I'll be drawing and I'll think, now, how would Joan draw this cat? Or how would Joan draw this tree? And I look at her books and I steal it.
Thank you. Sweet angel, thank you.
But if you all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I have
Nobody.
some that people had submitted
okay,
to
great.
me, so
Okay.
I will stand here and you can look at them.
Okay.
Is there a piece of your own artwork that you consider a personal favorite and why?
Well, I like Life is Just Cherry Bullies just because it was one of the first ones I did that got a lot of attention and, kind of set me on my way. So, and I still like that drawing.
And is there a favorite Joan Walsh Anglund book of yours
Oh, my gosh.
and why?
I love them all. A friend is someone who likes you was the very first one my mother gave me when I was about 10. And so that's probably
Yeah.
my favorite. But I have so many. I like them all. I love them all. I can't get enough.
Okay. Can you tell the story of your first adventure to market with 17 card designs?
Yeah, I don't even think we had 17. I think we had about 12. And I had been freelancing for several different card companies, and they weren't moving fast enough, in my opinion. And they weren't making posters, and they weren't making calendars, all these suggestions I had for them. They weren't listening to me. So I thought, well, I'll just do this myself. How hard can it be? So I did a few cards, and I had a friend who was volunteered to run the business part of it for me, and we went up to the New York Stationery Show with my 12 cards on a card table. It was just pathetic. But luckily, New York Magazine was there, and they really liked them, and they took a picture and they featured it in their Best Bets column.
Wow.
And so that's
Great.
what started it, and luckily they overlooked our pathetic booth.
So that's when you knew that
That there was
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah. And also at that show,
How
we
old
were
were you then?
approached. Well, I guess I was. I'm really bad at this. So that was before I had children. So that was like almost 35
old?
years ago.
About
I was
how old were
20,
you? 20?
6,
Yeah.
7,
Yeah.
8. I'm looking at my husband. Maybe he knows. I don't know. 25. 25.
25.
And we were also approached at that show by people who wanted to license the drawings, which I had no idea what that was. Did you
No.
when it started? No, I didn't.
No, I had no idea.
I didn't
I
either.
was
So
just totally.
whatever somebody
Yeah,
said, I'd be
whatever.
like, oh, okay.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And you're just thrilled to even get in
to
the
be there.
door.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, somebody came up at that show and said, we'd like to make a calendar. We'd like to license your art and do a calendar.
Wow.
And I said, okay. And then we
Okay.
quick found out what licensing was, which was great, because what licensing is you own the copyright to the drawing and you just license it over and over for different products.
Yeah.
Very good. Do you have a clear picture in your mind when you sit down to draw, or do you just let inspiration come upon you and it takes off?
No, I don't have time for that. Sometimes I do. I mean, sometimes I have an idea in my head of something I want to draw.
Yeah.
But a lot of time it's driven by deadlines. And but I have a big stack of quotes. I'm not a writer like Joan, so I have quotes that I like to illustrate. And you know, depending on the project, I'll sit down. And luckily, inspiration hasn't failed me yet. So
That's good.
And you have your lovely sense of humor. Yeah,
well,
that is also
some call
so-
it a sense of humor.
Yeah.
If you have a deadline or a special request, does that make the process harder or easier?
Oh no, I love deadlines. I'm all for them. I respond very well to deadlines.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, yeah, I wouldn't get anything done without a deadline.
Do the hours bent over a project affect your neck, shoulders, and hands? And what
Yes.
do you do to take care of yourself?
Nothing. I know. But I don't, and I need to now, and now it's too late. And but yeah, it's been, you know, so 40 years bending over an art table, and it's, yeah, everything hurts. But not while I'm drawing. And
Yeah.
that's part of the problem. Because, you know, I'll sit down to draw, and you just, you know, you lose all sense of time and
Yes.
how long you're
absolutely.
at that table, because I can't tell you how many doctors have said, well, just get up and walk around,
Yeah.
you know, every 15 or 20
Yes.
minutes. And I, you know,
No, you're concentrating.
you're in it.
Working, and you
Right.
don't even know what time it is.
Exactly.
Once you start on a drawing, you pretty much are in that drawing
Right.
until you catch whatever it was
Right.
that you wanted to catch.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't do what they say, and I need to.
Well, tonight he'll do a little personal training, and my friend Julia will do yoga with you.
Too late
She's
for
always
that.
saying she'll do it with me, and I'm like, nah, not yoga. Do you feel your talent or gift has a spiritual connection?
Um, I am not a religious person, but I do consider myself a spiritual person. So I guess that, it's my way of communicating with people and sharing the love. So I guess in that way it has that kind of connection.
Do you ever not want to create? What do you do when the well feels dry?
Well, sure, there are sometimes I don't feel like it, but not very often. Even when, sometimes I might not feel like I'm doing a Christmas book right now. It's a nativity book, and it is long past due. And, well, I still have a little bit of time, but it's going very slowly. And so I don't really feel like doing that. I know I will eventually, but so instead of doing that, I'll paint. I'll make something, or I'll paint a bowl or a birdhouse or something like that, and it kind of gets you going again. So.
But you have a deadline.
But I have a deadline,
or
yeah,
you
and
haven't missed it yet.
I haven't missed it yet.
Oh, okay.
I like to push it.
Okay, I get that.
I have never missed a deadline.
Do you listen to music or any other stimuli when you create, or do you prefer quiet?
When I'm drawing, when I'm just doing the first sketch, I don't listen to anything and I don't watch anything. I'm just doing that. That's what I love to do. When I start to color, I'll listen to music or I'll turn on the TV or something, because that takes quite a while. And
because when you're catching that thought or that image or something,
right.
you really are, that's when you're really intent on it. And then later, yes, when you're doing, I remember coloring in the leaves, and it just goes on and on each leaf. and by that time you think, okay, let's have a little music.
Right. Something, anything to distract me from these leaves. Yeah.
What inspires you? People, quotes, emotions, circumstances?
All of the above.
Okay.
All of the above. Especially my business is really driven by the quotations, so that's probably it. But I get inspiration from everywhere. My family, my kids, my friends, bumper stickers.
Do people send you quotes and say, can you do something with this?
Some people do, yeah. If they're good, I put them in my little quote book and take them.
What are your other passions?
Well, my kids and my cute husband. And
Cute husband, stand up. This is Phil Delano.
Who has always been supportive, and I know you had that kind of support
Yes.
too, and
I
it
was
makes
just going to
all
say
the
that
difference.
I think that we were both so lucky in that, and how special he is too, just your real partner.
Right.
And you always knew that they were all for you. And of course, Bob took my thing in, and I didn't even know it. But he was always there for me, and making kind of, when I'd get a little tired or something, he would always make me laugh or something. But I knew he was behind me, and that gave me a tremendous amount of energy that I wouldn't have had if I didn't have his support. And I know that's so true with you.
It is. I don't
And
see
I
how I
think
could have
with
done
you
it.
too, and Lyle, it's so apparent that you both are such a team, and that makes that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
He can probably now understand why I like to just keep going and going and going till 3 in the morning. It's the way,
Other
it
people
has
do
to be
that
done,
too.
because it's
That's
hard to go back to it later. It's kind of like you might not be inspired later.
Yeah.
It might be, Anyway, so let's see, where am I here? What 3 things would you be upset if you had to live without besides family, friends, and faith?
Well, if I couldn't draw, that would not be good. Really, aside from family and friends, my drawing is really, really important to me. It is me, so.
And you said you were laser focused since
Yeah,
you were 10 or younger.
Yeah.
What is your favorite part of your job and the least favorite part of your job?
Well, I mean, it's great to be able to make a living doing what you love to do. It's not even a job. So I love to draw, and mainly, and I also love some of the business part, like trying to decide new things, new directions to go, what new products we'd like, how should we do that, how do we get that out there, that kind of thing. I really enjoy that. I don't enjoy the business end of it. But really, I'm just so fortunate to be able to do it. I like the whole thing.
Excellent. What has been the biggest challenge of being a female-owned business?
You know, I never had any problem. It's my business. And so there wasn't anybody to, this business, I think there are a lot of women involved in it. Anyway, it's sold to mainly women, frankly. And a lot of the people in the licensing business are women who understand. So I've never, in this business, I have never really run into any problems.
How has your artwork changed as you've gone through various stages of your life, various stages and ages of your life?
Right. Well, I think anything you do every day, no matter what it is, you're bound to get better. So I like to think it's better. I also think I have streamlined my drawings more as I get older. They used to be so busy and so full of stuff, which was fun at the time. And then I just wanted to get it down to more of the core of whatever the quote was or what I was trying to get across. So I do think it's a little more streamlined now.
What lesson did you learn from your magazine publishing days?
Never to do a magazine. Actually, we started that magazine, what we did was, first we started with decorating books, and they sold really well, and we said, hey, wouldn't it be fun to have a magazine? We didn't know anything about it. We went to my saintly publisher, a calendar publisher, Andrew McNeil, and said, wouldn't this be fun? Wouldn't you like to do a magazine? And they agreed. We didn't know anything about the advertising part of it, or Barnes & Noble. We were thinking it was going to be a quarterly, almost like a soft cover book that would come out quarterly showing decorations for that season. Well, Barnes & Noble and at the time, who was the other bookstore? Borders said, oh, no, that's a magazine. And that goes in our magazine department, and you can't treat it like a book. And it has to go in the magazine, you have to get advertising. And so we taught ourselves as we went. But it's a very, very tough business. And when we were out for 11 years, 6 times a year for 11 years. But when the economy collapsed, it killed a lot of those decorating magazines because people just weren't advertising anymore in print. And so reality set in, and we had to close it. But it was so fun. It was so fun, and the reason we wanted to start a magazine was because we weren't seeing what we wanted to see in decorating magazines. We knew we all had houses that we liked. We didn't hire decorators to do them. We all did them ourselves, and we knew a lot of artists who had a lot of cool houses. And we wanted to interview people like Joan and all the other wonderful artists out there and see how they lived. Look at their house, look at their studio, look at their work. And so it was really, really an honor to be able to meet all those people and show what they did. And Barbara was right. The reason I started it was so I could get a long conversation with Joan.
What is the most favorite thing that you've ever done? What is your favorite thing that you've done in your life? I mean, not necessarily drawing, like gone to Antarctica or got married.
That would not be fun.
Whatever.
Got married? Well, yeah, that was it. That was, that was my favorite thing. Really, as this business, starting this business and being able to draw and knowing that the things meant something to people because you're sitting at your desk drawing. I'm sitting up in my studio alone in the middle of the night drawing. You don't think of these things going off your art table and out into the world. And it's very fun to realize that, like I did 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, and a lot of people say, oh, that's been a part of our Christmas, for years and years, and you never think about that. So that is probably the best part of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it means so much to people
Yeah.
that you don't know.
That you don't know yet.
Yeah.
And then to have, I do have to say, I'm terribly moved by the connectedness of everybody and how our work affected lives. And that astounds me because I never, ever really kind of realized
No, you
that.
don't think about it. when
And
you're doing
didn't
it.
think about it. I was busy doing my family and drawing at night, and I wasn't thinking, that wasn't really my purpose to try to influence lives. But of course I wanted people to like the books and
Yeah.
everything. But I never really thought of myself. I always thought of myself as kind of a very quiet person that wasn't, and actually kind of an inept person, because I really am. I'm not able to cope with like numbers and
No,
plans
I know what
and
you
things
mean.
like that. That's not,
Right.
I'm not good at that.
But it's nice to know that what you are good at
Yeah, I like
means so
what I do.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
means so
like-
much
yeah.
to so many people.
Exactly. Are you all okay with taking a question or two from the audience?
Are you?
Are there a couple of questions out there that we haven't covered?
I enjoyed going to your shop where you're
Mm-hmm.
in St. Louis, and I was so devastated when we drove into that mall and it was gone, and I realized there were no Mary Engelbreit stores.
No, we opened some.
I'll repeat it.
Oh.
She said there was a shop in St. Louis, a Mary Engelbreit shop, and when Susan Witzel went back to it or went to it, it wasn't there anymore.
We had 12 across the country and in different cities, and we did that for a few years, and we realized, and it was fun, and the stores were cute, I thought. Yeah, and they were fun, but that is a whole separate business, kind of like the magazine. As a whole separate business, you have to hire millions of people in each city, managers, it's just a whole other thing. And eventually I decided to go back to what I do best, which is drawing. That's what I want to do. At the time when I was doing that was the time of Martha Stewart, when everybody thought, okay, well, and Oprah, and if you make a movie, you make stores, you have a TV show, you have books, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. And the fact is, once you start doing all that, you think, I don't want to do all this stuff. I just want to draw. So, that's what we came back to, and that's what we do now.
Let's see. I saw you first.
Mary, I love in your magazines where you would show your house, and I remember around your bathtub there were all kinds of little old-fashioned figurines, which is what my house is.
Mm-hmm.
And I know one time you downsized some with all that. But then
Right.
did you go back out and get more?
Well,
And maybe repeat her question.
yeah, she asked if I still decorate the same way when I had a lot of stuff in my house. And I did downsize. We moved into a smaller house. And I did go out and buy more. But then we downsized again, and we had a couple of sales. Got rid of a lot of stuff, and at this point in my life, and this wasn't that long ago, I guess, I was ready to get rid of a lot of that stuff and simplify and move on. And I don't really, I don't do that too much anymore. Yeah. I know, and I don't know what made me, but I have enough. And now I can look at something and think, isn't that cute? And I can actually leave it there, which is great.
Larissa?
Has the word bright been added to the Webster Dictionary the way you spell it, B-R-E-I-T?
Oh, I don't think so. And we thought Mary Engelbreit, I grew up, my family telling me that meant bright angel. Well, it doesn't. It means broad angel. So no, we don't really go there.
In the back, the man on the last row. No, you, sir. Well, maybe it's a woman. Yeah, I'm sorry. All I could see was the head. It's bright up here.
Engelbreit, I sent a text to a friend and said that I was coming to see Mary Engelbreit, and I spelled it wrong, and it was on spell check.
Really? I've made it. Really? Yeah, we're going to be signing later, right? I brought, I know Joan's got some stuff and she will sign your things, and I brought a print. Is that right? Am I saying the right things? And I brought a print that you can buy, and I will be happy to sign. So.
This one?
For both of you, does it all just start with the number 2 pencil? Your color choices are so different. Is it just because you've always loved the bold and bright and reds and black and you have loved the softer shades, or does it just fit with the characters that you draw? Your color choices.
The question.
All just start with the number 2.
Does it start with a number 2 pencil and you use brighter and you use more softer pastels?
What do you
So
think?
address that.
Do you start with just drawing with a number 2 pencil? Is that how you start your drawings?
Or do you start with an ink?
No, I think I take just a pen on vellum.
Really?
And, and draw. And just very loosely. And then after that I do an overlay, and then I do another, maybe tissue to catch a little hand doing the right thing or something, and maybe change that and, and paste them up.
Oh, and you paste them up?
Well, that's the underdrawing, and then I do the drawing over it.
And then do you do watercolor
Yeah.
on top of that?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
On
So
top.
it's all on one sheet at the
Yeah.
end, it's all.
And I do the watercolor then on, in other words, I have the black line already finished, and then I do that. I have that printed on, kid finish paper, heavy paper, and then I do my watercolor on that.
Huh.
So you use permanent ink so that it doesn't run. You use permanent ink that doesn't run
Yeah.
in watercolor.
In the ink.
Yeah.
When we showed Joan in the magazine, which was, I believe, the April-May 1999 issue, we showed a lot of her sketches. Oh, I love seeing your sketches. They're very loose, and
Yeah, when you first do them.
they're beautiful, just
They're
beautiful.
They're upstairs at the thing. There are a lot of
Upstairs
that
shows some
to
of her
show what
beginning.
the under is, and then how
Oh,
how it
good.
just gets printed.
So do you use a
And
pencil?
I do start with a pencil and on one sheet, and then I get it the way I want it. I draw it with pen and ink, and then I color it in with markers, and then I color over that with colored pencil, so it's all done on one.
right on the paper
the
that you
paper.
drew.
Yeah, so it's all done on one.
I see.
One
Well, that's
paper.
good.
Yeah.
One more question if you have it. She's an artist also. This
I
is
know.
Lisa.
I know you've mentioned, Marion, that you work well with deadlines, and I can relate to that, but sometimes a term in our house is some days you just have to go to Dairy Queen. Have you
Yeah.
ever just sat down and it's like you need to work, and it's like, it's just not working? Do you reach that point, or is it a deadline driven, I've got to get it, push it through and get it out?
I say once I sit down, I'm pretty determined to finish it. But yeah, sometimes I'll get so far in a drawing to a certain place and
Yeah.
think it looks terrible, or
I
I just
didn't
want to
work.
look at it again
Yes, yes.
later.
So then
and,
you start over.
Yeah, so I walk away.
Yeah.
Do you ever
come
rip it
back.
like in half?
And that's
Nope.
why it's so important at the beginning when
my
you're
husband
first.
hates it when I do
That's why you don't have music going or anything,
Right.
because what you have it in your head, but you don't know if it's right. It tells you what it wants to do while you're drawing, and then they think, oh, that's how I'm supposed to do it, and so that's when that happens. And once you've captured it, then the coloring and all of that, you just do that in a professional way. I mean, you see what color you really want and all that.
That is absolutely true, because lots of times I'll sit down with an idea in my head and I'll start drawing that, and it just is not working. It's
gonna
not
work.
working.
And you think, well, why isn't this
What
working?
am I doing
And then all
wrong?
of a sudden, you think, oh, maybe it should be this or this or this, and then
It
and
kinda
you know
tells
when
you.
you've got it.
Yeah.
You know when you've got the right answer.
It's true.
Uh,
It's true. It's very fun. It's really
Yeah.
fun.
Uh-huh.
Well, thank you all for coming and joining
Our
us.
group is doing
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.